You guys really don't know when it's good or bad when it comes right down to it. You really don't know because you don't know what we're trying to do. You guys don't look at the films. You don't know what happened. You really don't know. You think you know, but you don't know, and you never will.
To come home, because I have a very special love.
The media public doesn't know. You guys don't know. Sometimes it won't. I can tell you it won't be good, and you'll see it won't be good. Sometimes you'll think it's good, and it isn't any good. Sometimes you'll think it's bad, and it was pretty darn good. Sometimes you'll think it's bad, and it was bad. But basically, you really don't know.
Welcome back, the Beta Boys Weekly Podcast, Packers Corner, finally back after a victory for our Green Bay Packers here. You know, I think looking back on it, it was an okay idea for us to start Aaron Rodgers. I think I'm okay with that.
Can I just inject here real quickly a question from last week?
Yeah, what was that?
By our fearless host or master of ceremonies. Can you give me one reason why Aaron Rodgers should play another down at quarterback for the Green Bay Packers?
I think the reason was that we're mathematically alive, and as long as we got a heartbeat, let's keep it going. There is a pulse. We needed maybe a little shock there to revive the system. There were multiple times during this week even when it looked like for this individual game we didn't have much hope. We had 14-point deficit, of course, in the fourth quarter, and we had opportunistic interceptions that really turned the tide. Dak Prescott made two pretty ill-advised throws there, and we were able to come out on top because of that. So it was kind of the antithesis of what we had seen during the season to this point. We had, a team that said never say die and pulled one out. Rodgers was asking the Packers to dig deep, and that's exactly what they did this week. And it feels good. It is kind of crazy how it paints my whole week here. Just the fact that the Packers got one done, I'm kind of chipper. So it's been a good deal. How are you feeling today, Dad?
Well, I think I might have those four fingers that Schmitty was talking about at deer camp this week. I brought some Crown Royal up there last week, and the boys are pretty excited about that. And I think we might have to crush some of that over some ice, and we'll see after Thursday. But it's amazing that one of the main culprits we've been talking about all year by the name of Darnell Savage was eliminated from his normal post on the back of the defense, moved into the front to the slot, and the guy that they put in there who just, oh no, Joe Barry, what would we do if Darnell Savage didn't play safety? Well, we have no answers. Well, they brought a guy right off their own roster, and he made more plays than Darnell Savage in a half of football than Savage has made in 3 years. And so maybe part of the problem is the doggone defensive coordinator was playing him out of position. So it's a very nice development that we get a kid that comes in there and makes two huge plays and turns the game around for us.
Well, we won't get too far ahead of ourselves here, but just the fact that you mentioned we play on Thursday night is kind of too bad given the fact that it's opening deer hunting season here. It's kind of nice to have that Sunday game with all the boys in camp there. So I guess we won't get to do that this year.
We won't have to rush out of the woods Sunday morning that way. We can linger a little longer in that sub-zero weather. See if those whitetails are moving.
Good time to get a big one.
In the swamp.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that swamp monster might be up and around. You never know.
Never know. Schmitty, what's your takeaway from the performance we had here?
I want to say everyone's shoulders feel a little bit lighter, right? Today it's was an excellent win, not one that any of us had anticipated. But we got the ball to our best player, and the rookie took care of us. 3 touchdowns, a fantastic performance. Aaron Rodgers looked very good. He put some balls up the sideline. That one to Christian Watson, that kid could have had 4. He played fantastic. The defense, I didn't know what to expect with not having Rashawn in there. But we were able to get some pressure on Dak. Rudy Ford made a bunch of plays. Hopefully we get to see him play a lot more ball for us. and Darnell maybe can ride some pine. And then for the love of God, if Amari Rogers is even in uniform come Thursday, Goody should be gone. The guy should be gone. That goes for both of them. So make this right. Make this right, Brian. Or the guy, or all those Lambeau faithful dressed up in their finest blazing orange color. I hope they're looking for you after the game. If number 8's out there, they're going to come find you.
It's hard to argue with you though, Schmitty, and you've been saying it all season long. You were ahead of the curve on that one. Holy smokes, that guy's been a train wreck. We're fortunate that didn't cost us this game, right? But the other thing was Nixon looked pretty good back there, huh, Dad?
Well, yeah. The very first time that the man number 25, former number of Dorsey Levens, I believe, and a player by the name of Dan Hampton from the 60s, steps on the field. I am not a crook, Keyshawn Nixon, handles a ball like a center fielder, going back to the track, nonchalantly just kind of stabs it out of the air while simultaneously making a shiver move on the ensuing punt coverage and heading upfield for a return, the likes of which we've not seen since Desmond Howard on his, I might be slightly exaggerating, on his very first effort at punt returner. I stand corrected, Schmitty. God bless you. You were saying this when I was sticking up for the kid from Tennessee. Isn't that where Amari Rogers is from?
Clemson.
Oh, his dad coached. His dad was the quarterback at Tennessee. If he sets foot on the field in punt formation, we all need to immediately jam all the frequencies at 1265 Lombardi with all of our emails, phone calls, and whatever else it is, and make it plain in no uncertain terms that this is not acceptable. So I think those two developments are huge. I'll just quickly outline the move of Savage up into the slot and getting, and now we got Abrams from Las Vegas to shore up that position on the back end. An actual safety who's bigger than 193 pounds, who could come up and pack a wallop on a running back, right? And now we got a punt returner. Let me just quickly add the last observation here. Aaron Rodgers ran the game plan this week. There was none of this. The RPOs at the line of scrimmage when it's 3rd and 1, you hand the ball off, you run the ball, and then you go with play action passing. So it was a beautiful development in many quarters there.
Well, I think you opened up a couple things that we got to touch on there, Dad. First off, I see Schmitty's facial reaction. You looked a little nervous with the way that Nixon fielded that punt, is the impression I'm getting. I came away with a different impression, which was that was an incredibly difficult deal. Moving backwards.
He's catching him here.
It was completely a secondary thought for him. It was not a difficult play for him to make. He just looked like a natural to me. Is that, the prototypical way you're going to catch a punt? No, but the way that he made that looked easy to me, honestly.
He did have a little shimmer, didn't he, after he caught that ball?
Yeah.
It was making some moves.
And he just stabbed it. He plucked it out of the air, Schmitty.
He did.
He'd done that many times before.
They called his number. He wasn't expecting to do that at all yesterday, and he took care of that.
And Dad, you made a good point at the office here. What would Amari Rogers have done on that return if we put him back there?
He would have been heading for the hills. He would have been up at the 20-yard line praying for that thing to bounce into the end zone. He'd want no part of fielding that punt, which is exactly why he shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, not only did Nixon make a nice little return there, he saved the potential to have that downed inside the 5 or something scary there. So plays like that can change the whole complexity of the game. What I was most impressed with, a couple things. One, like you guys pointed out, Aaron Rodgers, incredibly efficient. 14 for 20, 224, and 3 touchdowns. Really, he had 2 drops from Watson, so he didn't throw many incompletions.
3 drops.
Yeah, they only threw the ball.
If you
20
count the one
times.
that would have been a touchdown.
Yeah, he only threw the ball 20 times, but was able to be extremely efficient with that because of the success of the run game and bought in that way. But I was even more impressed with the fact that this team, 3-6, down 14 points, every reason you could have to curl up and get it over with quickly. They could have lost by 4 scores in the fourth quarter, but they dug deep, exactly what Aaron Rodgers was asking for, and they came back and won. Dad, you laid a good stat on me just before we started here. How many games that the Cowboys had where they entered the fourth quarter with 14-point lead, or had a 14-point lead at any point in the fourth quarter, rather?
I just read in the Sentinel Journal or else the Madison paper, one of the two, where in the history of the Dallas Cowboys, they played 196 games into which they carried a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter, regular season and including playoffs. And in how many of those games, Schmitty, do you imagine that they did not prevail of 196?
Half.
One. They are 195-1 when leading by 14 points going into the fourth quarter, and we own the one victory as of yesterday. So that by that thin margin, who said it's over? Did anybody say it's over? It's not over till we say it's over. I think you have a clip maybe to play.
They didn't have a good quality, but we were asking if it was over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor, and the answer was no.
Germans, no. Pearl Harbor, he's rolling.
Exactly. But no, the thing that I was gonna end off and ask Schmidt about here was, this is a team that's found a way to lose time and time again this season. What enabled them to find a way to win with the cards stacked against them here?
They got play out of a kid that wasn't providing that. Granted, he was injured a whole bunch in Watson. The defense played well. You had Garvin, McDuffie. I mean, guys that up to this point really didn't get much time, and they played well. Josh Nijman might have had his best game yesterday. So you got performances by a lot of guys that you necessarily weren't expecting. And then on top of that, the guys that you rely on week in and week out to performed. Aaron Jones, again, showing why he is our best player. They should continue to give him that amount of touches. He is vital to our success. And we've shown if we don't give him the ball, what our offense looks like. It's stagnant.
Hey, got to give a tip of the cap to A.J. Dillon. He had, what was probably his best game of the season, too. He looked better than he has in previous weeks, but you're right. There's still a strong difference between him and Jones for us.
Yeah, I'm certainly not really hyped up about A.J. Dillon's play as of late, or this season, really. And he did play okay. It was kind of sweet to see Darnell just get burnt left and right. CeeDee Lamb just 5 yards of separation, because we're watching the same thing that Goody and all their scouts are. I don't think the kid can play. I think it's becoming more and more evident, and maybe give him some props for making that change, letting Keshawn Nixon play some more. So
I would have given them props, Schmitty, if they would have done it 2.5 years ago. At this point, they get no props. They get why in the world did you tell us there was no alternative at safety? But I have to underscore, Schmitty, your observation on Garvin and is it McDuffie or
McDuffie's the linebacker.
Yeah.
Nixon.
But those guys, Garvin and McDuffie, filled in beautifully, very serviceably for guys that weren't expected to really contribute at all in the defense. And that's the kind of thing I think that gives you a heartbeat and gives you something to rally around, an inspirational type thing. I also heard the new guy Abrams from Las Vegas was running up and down the sideline, firing those guys up. He's a good friend of Keyshawn Nixon's. And apparently they got the same tattoo when they were in Vegas together, and they're blood brothers. And he was quite an inspiration, I guess, on the sidelines, along with Randall Cobb and others. So these guys hit rock bottom against Detroit, and they've pulled themselves up by the bootstraps, and we have a heartbeat.
Yeah, 2 points of criticism that I had. One was we could not stop the run very well, and this is shown to be a problem for us multiple times this year. We got a guy named Derrick Henry coming up on Thursday night here, so that will be an ultimate test. Fortunately, seems as though the Titans have been a little bit one-dimensional. Sometimes when you don't have a multifaceted attack, that can lend itself to, maybe we'll have a impressive performance against the run when we know that's the number one thing we have to shut down no matter what. Against the Cowboys, they're a little more diversified. And the other point of criticism is I would like to see us make a concerted effort to shut down the number one threat in the passing game for one of these teams that we play. When the number one receiver does what has been done to us multiple times, whether it be Justin Jefferson or Terry McLaurin or Stephon Diggs and now CeeDee Lamb, we seem to not be very willing to take away their top option. That's something you see Bill Belichick do a lot when he's playing the Chiefs in the last few years, and you see Tyreek Hill get shut down. We haven't shown a proclivity to do that. Any adjustments there on that front that you think we could be making, Dad?
Inside football here, I think the biggest thing that we can do to help our defense is run the ball like we have been, shorten the game, shorten the number of possessions, keep our offense on the field, keep our defense fresh. And I do believe that Aaron Rodgers has the message on that now. He clearly was upset with McFleur at the end of the game for not taking some shots to try to win that thing in regulation. I can't argue too much with that, but I was very happy to see that he did not audible out of running game and allowed that running game to really evolve and develop. And I think that's the best way. We're going to have to play with who we have on defense. We're shorthanded in a few positions. Are we going to stop the big night train from Tennessee? No, he's going to get his. We just got to make sure we don't give up big plays and that we somehow win the special teams game and control the time of possession and have Rodgers and Christian Watson make big plays in a timely fashion when we need them.
There was a moment there near the end of regulation that I think maybe you're somewhat alluding to, where Rodgers was pretty upset with LaFleur coming off the field. Did we find in the media, or you guys hear anything about what that response was about?
I did. In the articles, of course, I was prepping diligently, working my fingers to the bone here before the podcast because I didn't want to let you down on that. But they said that Rodgers was very much of a mind to throw the ball down the field. They were playing a single high safety. He did not like the runs on second and third down, or the run call on second down. I guess on 3rd and 1, they did try to pass, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
He did, but he didn't.
He ended up running towards the sideline, trying to extend the play, and threw it away late.
Which was bad.
Yes, we talked
Hit
about
the ground and keep the clock running, but
or at least make them burn a timeout. Yeah.
So the point was, Aaron wanted to go down the field and go play action on 1st or 2nd down and end the game in regulation. Was what I read.
Gotcha. I'm just a little bit upset about that. Well,
we might add it's not good to show that much disgust to the head coach on the sideline, but LaFleur kind of, in essence, admitted that his team bailed him out and that he was indecisive on some of those calls. And so LaFleur's really good at patching those things over and not making
it was a bit much, though.
That's out of it.
Yeah, that's not the response you would hope to have from your quarterback. I get being fired up, but it didn't look great. Did it? No, it didn't derail us in overtime. Clearly, we were able to get it done nonetheless. So, great takeaway there. Can we talk about the playoff perspective? I know we were talking about not playing Aaron Rodgers.
What do you want to do?
No.
You want to do this right now?
We can't hope.
No.
What can we?
No.
What does the path look like? What does the path look like?
Griffey. What does the path look like?
You know what? Let's save that discussion for next.
Your son, please.
After Thursday, we could entertain that discussion if we have a certain result happen after.
Hey, I'm back to wanting Jordan Love at the helm if we don't get it done Thursday, but we might as well entertain a tale of two seasons here.
We will break that. I will say I looked at it, and there's a lot of teams that are not very good. Let's have this discussion. Tennessee has not beat a team with a winning record this year. They have almost not won a single game by more than one possession. I think they beat somebody by 9 points, 19-10, Vegas or somebody like that. This game is imminently winnable when I look at the parity in the NFL and the fact that Tennessee doesn't blow anybody out. We should be in this game right to the end unless we make, dumb mistakes and do something stupid on special teams. So there's an analysis for you. 6-3 Tennessee coming in really could easily be 4-5 or 5-4. And so not a team that strikes a lot of fear into your heart in terms of their explosiveness.
When you talk about parity just amongst the NFL, there's a lot of teams bunched together with a couple games separating them. So that bodes well in terms of possibilities for sneaking into a third wild card spot. But you're right, one at a time. Let's see what happens Thursday.
Thank
Schmitty,
you.
were you glued to the TV for the Vikings-Bills game?
Yes, I was on my couch watching, soaking it in like every other NFL crazed fan because it really was a good game.
It was
And
it was an
it
all-timer, honestly.
it was definitely the game of the year. The Bills Chiefs game obviously takes the edge for me in the most
From the
recent Bills
playoffs
games
last year, yeah.
from the playoffs. Yes, but yeah, fantastic game. The Vikings keep finding a way to win it. You asked me a couple weeks ago, I think, if could we catch the Vikings? Well, no, there's no chance. Especially now, they're playing too well, and they're getting maybe all the bounces to go their way, and they don't lose at home. Although they are underdogs on Sunday at home, so interesting.
Who was the
Um,
backup quarterback that the Vikings went out and traded for? And they got the guy that Nick Mullins, right? Is he still on the team?
I believe so. Yeah,
I think that's who they traded for, and they let go of that Kellen Mond, who they drafted, and
right.
so forth. Not wishing anything to befall anyone there, but in the NFL, sometimes you're one play away from the team looking drastically different. So there's always a possibility. But I think I share some responsibility for the Vikings getting that one done because I celebrated a little bit too hard in front of my wife, who is a Viking fan, after they got stopped on 4th down on the QB sneak from Cousins there. I was just a little bit too happy about that. I thought the game was over, and it came
Bad
back
form.
to bite us. Yeah, no, I
Bad form, Griff.
keep the band off the field, right? But I got a little too excited that way. What were you
Can
going to
I
say?
just interject here? I have a little different. That was the most horrible game I've ever seen. I've never seen a quarterback throw up all over the front of his jersey like Josh Allen. What in God's green earth, with the score, what is it, 27-17, and on 4th down on the roughly the 8-9 yard line and 5 yards to go, you don't kick the field goal. Not only that, Allen drops back and throws an interception to Patrick Peterson, who promptly returns it to the 25-30 yard line, and now all of a sudden the Vikings are right back in it. And then, not that that's enough, then he fumbles the pass from center with the game on the line. My good Lord, a junior high quarterback in 7th grade isn't allowed to do that, for the love of Pete. A more pitiful performance in the history of the NFL would be hard to find. And I want to like Josh Allen because he seems like a good kid, but that was piss poor, pitiful performance. And I don't know what more can be said about it. It was just a perfect Viking lucky win.
Yeah, and it wasn't one where you can heap all the credit and praise. Well, if one guy deserved quite a bit of credit, is Justin Jefferson. Holy smokes. That guy made some incredible plays down the stretch. That one-handed catch where he pulled it away from the guy with 2 hands on the football. I don't think I've ever seen someone steal the ball with one hand when another guy has 2 hands on the football.
Let's just examine that, Tyler, for a minute. And your football acumen and coaching a defensive back on a ball that's high with the game on the line, do you try to intercept that ball and it's 4th down, or do you knock it down or knock it out of bounds and then the ball goes back to the line of scrimmage? Terrible.
You know,
It was like the New Orleans Saints DB played the miracle in Minneapolis when it looked
That
like
was even
somebody
worse.
shot him in the left frontal lobe and he fell down at the receiver's feet.
You talk
It
about
was,
throwing up on the front of your jersey. That was
oh,
maybe the worst individual play in sports that I've ever seen. The guy that missed the tackle on Diggs there. Um,
well,
yeah, no,
that DB for the Bills didn't do himself very proud on that play
no,
either.
easy to say after the fact. That's a tough one to think, but coaches do preach that in my experience, especially you get in situations. I don't know if at Lodi there they do sort of a Hail Mary preparation. What'd your Friday practice look like? Would they do sort of the walkthrough?
oh, certainly. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're not a good football team if you don't run through all the scenarios,
you do
right?
the
So you got a
script
little
and
bit
then you end
different of a
with the
package, and
Hail Mary there.
uh, I mean, goodness, and I mean, a coach should be screaming from the sidelines. You know, and you're a professional football player. You should be aware of the situation and what's required of you at that time. Uh, while it is fun and like, oh, let's pad the stats and get an interception, certainly that was not the play. Um, but I want to give more credit to Justin Jefferson than anything. I mean, what a fantastic catch, what a fantastic player, and a guy that we're gonna have to worry about for a very long time. Uh, so please move on from Darnell Savage. You can't cover him.
Well, we don't want to entertain the playoff talk too heavily, but I know we do have a matchup with the Minnesota Vikings, the last game of the season, and might at the very least get to play spoiler a little bit there. So we'll keep our eye on that as the end of the season approaches. Maybe we can knock them out of a home field spot or something of the like that way. As we look forward towards Thursday here, though, against the Tennessee Titans, I guess we better make some predictions. We had a little bit of a rough go of it with the records this past week. We all took a hit because we all picked against the Packers. Maybe that's a lesson that we should take heed towards and pick against them repeatedly. They had the Terry Bradshaw effect that he had on our run to the Super Bowl there. And they got it done. So they got the last laugh that way. Schmitty, it's a little Vegas perspective on the game this week. And what are your picks straight up as well?
The Packers are 3-point favorites going into Thursday night. My prediction is the Tennessee Titans beat the Green Bay Packers by 4 points, 24-20. I really like the Titans team. I watched a majority of that game when they played against the Chiefs just a couple weeks ago. They are a really good football team. I really think that they have the recipe on defense to make it very difficult for us. And I don't suspect that we'll get the same performance that we will out of our friend Christian Watson or Sammy Watkins. I don't see him making plays like he did. We got saved a couple times. But follow the recipe. Give Aaron Jones the ball a bunch, and let's see where it goes. Um, the Titans quarterback, there's something to like about him. I don't know if Tannehill's back. I'm not sure what the situation is there. Um, but I still like the Titans, and we can talk next Monday and talk about what the offseason's going to bring.
It might be back to Jordan Love time. We'll see how it goes. When's the last time we were favored in a week, Schmidt? It's been a while.
It's
Like
just a
maybe the
couple weeks ago,
Lions.
my friend.
Yeah. Okay. It
We've been
does.
favored all the games.
We just
We
didn't
just
get
can't
it done.
figure it out.
It feels like it's been a long time when you go on a five game losing streak there. But yeah, we'll take the points for the Titans there. I assume as well if you're picking that way. So head to head here, Dad. What's your feeling about the game?
Well, I was going to pick against the Packers just to go with the antithesis rule here. You know, go against against your feelings. And I was really going to do that like Schmitty. And then I looked at the Titans record. They haven't beat anybody by more than one possession. They barely beat the lowly Denver Broncos at home last week. They're coming into Lambeau Field. In the NFL, when you want to ask who's going to win, you look for who's the more desperate team. I think Tennessee's a little fat, a little high on the hog. And the fact that the experts are picking us to win is going to cause me to go against my original thought process and say Packers 27 and Titans 23 in an inspirational victory at Lambeau Field. And so hopefully that's what will transpire.
Well, I got maybe a slightly different perspective than from either of you guys. I'm not diving into the football. I'm not diving into the numbers in terms of performance and statistics and metrics. That way, I'm seeing that Schmitty stands at 5-4 here, and I am below 500 at 3-4. So I'm gonna have to pick opposite to him to catch him.
Right.
So I think
Right.
for that reason, I better go ahead and pick the Packers and see if we can bring us all to 500 here next week. Is what it would look like if they can hit on that one. So that's my rationale. I'm also just a homer, and I'd like to see us have a run, keep the heartbeat alive here. I think the performance in the steal that the team showed down the stretch, down 14 points against the Cowboys, as you pointed out there, 195 times in a row, that has meant a loss. And it means something to pull a game like that out. And it's something to build upon. And it very well might mean nothing if we don't repeat that sort of a performance this week. But I was very encouraged by that. This team had every reason to lie down and almost tank, really. Of course, Aaron didn't, but a lot of guys around the locker room and so forth don't have the legacy on the line that he does necessarily. And they brought everyone together and they got it done. You saw an emotional Matt LaFleur. I think the guys are going to come together and continue the streak. At least that's my hope that way.
I think you bring up a really interesting point, Griff, in that uh, we reached a bit of an inflection point with Aaron Rodgers, and as smart and keyed in as he is, I think he sensed that this very much was a point upon which his legacy could hinge. Because if they lost that game, there would be a hue and cry, including from us probably, to go to Jordan Love. It would cause a situation where his legacy and the way he headed out of Green Bay would not at all be positive. You saw when he hooked up with Lazard in overtime, the absolute jubilance with which he ran down the field, pumping his fists through the air. And I just think that there's a little bit of that emotion running through the team, through the head coach, and you're going to get a charged effort out of them on against Tennessee. And we're going to need a few breaks for it to go our way. Otherwise, it'll end up like Schmitty says. But maybe without the liability at punt. Now, by the way, all bets are off if Amari Rodgers lines up in deep punt formation. Then I completely rescind any of my prior predictions. But saving that nuance, I think we got a chance. And I'm very interested and captivated by what Rodgers did with his legacy on the line.
Well, there aren't going to be any easy games for this team, I don't think. We're not like some of those teams that would just go out and steamroll the opposition and end the game in the first half. We're going to have, how many games do we have left here? 7 more regular season games, and they're all going to be close likely. And it's going to come down to close games. Can you win it at the end? Can you eke them out, and can you come together? Brett Favre said everybody in this league can play. That's not a question, but can you play together? And they've been able to do that in this previous week, and hopefully they can continue that at home against Tennessee here. Schmidt, any closing thoughts for us?
Enjoy the ride. I think we're climbing. It's a tall hill to climb, and so it's fun to watch the Packers win. They did it on Sunday. It made me feel good. I know it made you and Packer Nation feel good. And if they get that win on Thursday, I mean, we're playing with house money at this point. So, I really want to see Aaron at least give us the shot, the opportunity to talk about playoff football. And I hope he does. And I just think he might. If they win this, I mean, they're still afforded the ability to lose one more game. Thursday cannot be a game they lose. But the Eagles or the Vikings, you at least get to lose in Philadelphia and then see where it goes. And you gotta rattle off 5 or 6 wins to make the playoffs, and that can happen because you got a 4-time MVP. So
I think there's some
enjoy the
positives
ride.
to the mentality that this team can play with. they really can take on an us against the world type of a thing. You know, you see teams play well when they're able to do that, but also like you said, they have nothing to lose at this point. They can cut loose. So yeah, I think they can have a little bit of different attitude, and that's kind of the position that we found ourselves in 2010, right? And so that means if this is a team that can put a few things together, it's a prerequisite for us to be hot going into the postseason, right? If we're gonna make it there, that's what it would take. So there's some power in that.
Postseason, all this postseason.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. If we made it, just looking at the math, if that was something that happened, it would require us to be seriously hot. So that's all I'm saying.
So I would look at it this way, my perspective. You got 3 games coming up, two pretty tough ones, Tennessee and then Philly and then Chicago. You got to win 2 of those 3 games. And then you get, I don't know if you're at the bye week or pretty close to it there. And then you win 2 of those 3 games, and then you're looking at a chance to get hot down the stretch. You play 3 of the last 4 at home, I do believe. And so we're getting a little out ahead of ourselves. But if we just want to look to what the key is to staying in the hunt, 2 out of 3 wins in the next 3 games, and then we can begin to have some very interesting talk. I think the other talker here, guys, that maybe we'll end up tonight and then talk about later is what this finish does about the development of the young guys like Watson, some of these other guys who are getting playing time now on the defense, and how that makes you feel about the potential for next year. You've got to feel like you have the potential to be a Super Bowl contender. You got to be a division winner and a Super Bowl contender next year. Otherwise, the talk's going to be to move on from Aaron. But if you feel like things are tracking in the right direction and you could be a North Division winner next year, then there won't be any doubt about Aaron coming back.
The other benefit we're afforded by our schedule here is playing Tennessee on Thursday. You know, when we're kind of hot coming off an emotional fourth quarter there. Hopefully there isn't a hangover that way, but you know, let's keep the momentum. And then we get a long week before we get to play Philadelphia. And having a long week's a big deal in the NFL when you're playing 17 games in a row and guys are beat up. Not to mention the game planning aspect. We get a long week to prepare for those guys. So see if we can make the most of that in the coming weeks here. But we'll look forward to joining you guys together on another weekly edition of Beta Boys Weekly next week. Hopefully we have a deer or two to boot as well, Dad, maybe a story to go with it. We told me to save a story about my last time in the tree stand up there for following the deer hunting season as well. So
good one. We will do that. And remember, as always, keep the faith.
Yeah, that was the message from last time, and we have a heartbeat. There's a pulse. That's my motto for the rest of the year. Awesome. Take care, guys.
And his father shoveled horse shit all the days. When the lad was very young, they found a diamond in the dung, and they sent him off to college just to play. Hail, hail, hail to Master Beta, lift your thunder mugs on high, and we'll drink another glass to the biggest horse's ass in the brotherhood of Beta Theta Chi. Go Beta Boys!